Women's History Month starts today, and the last parent of one of the four girls who desegregated New Orleans public schools has died. Dorothy Prevost was the mother of the late Tessie Prevost, and Tori, family members and friends are here today to talk about it. We can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your Sunday to speak with us. First, let's get started. Walk us through your family story. It's pretty remarkable.
Yes, it is. In 1960, it was decided that the public school system would be desegregated in New Orleans. McDonald 19 was one of the schools that was chosen. And my family lived maybe about 2 blocks from McDonald 19. And at the time, the black kids had to go to Hardin School, which was about 12 blocks away from my house. And my dad said that was too far for my sister, who was 6 years old at the time, to go to that school. And he didn't understand why she couldn't go to the school that was closer. And so my parents decided that that was the better school. It was, Hardin was on a platoon system where half the students were going in the morning and half were going in the evening. The books were torn, had torn pages out of the books, and it was just not adequate for my sister.
When you think back to that time, a lot of people think it was, 100 years ago. It was anything but 100 years ago.
No.
Talk about how significant this is and how people should remember what your family did and built.
Well, Gail and Leona and Ruby are still living. And a lot of times they go to speak to students at schools, and I thought you were dead. And they're like, no, that happened in your parents' lifetime. That 1960 was not that long ago. And people just seem to have forgotten about Gail, Leona, and Tessie. I don't know, the story they were lost in history. Everybody knew about Ruby Bridges, but they were lost in history, and they went through horrific situations to get to where they were, to go to those schools. And the kids need to know that so that they can appreciate what they did in their education.
And you talked about, they went through horrific situations. You hear sometimes people, don't want to go to school, don't want to wake up to go to work. Your family fought barriers to go to school, to make change for a community. How important is it that that message resonates today, if y'all can kind of talk about that?
Well, so part of the reason why I started doing the work that I started doing with Miss Gail, Leona, and Tessie to uncover their story and their contributions, as I created a project, which is a movement and a film called the New Orleans Legacy Project, in which the focal point is about the story of the New Orleans Four, that there were 4 girls. In history, they were known as the New Orleans Four, synonymous to the Little Rock Nine. And so we've been doing that work and getting more national coverage for the whole story of the New Orleans Four. And so Miss Dorothy, being the last living parent, she just basically continued to do this work along with me, showing up in places. I mean, at 92 years old, she got a standing ovation at the National Urban League Gala here in Louisiana, National Urban League, Louisiana. And she just gets on a plane. She said, I'll go. And until the day she passed, she still gonna go. And I feel her now that she's like, let's go, So.
How do you think she, as a mother, found the strength to say, we're doing this? Where did that strength come from, and how did you find the guts to do that?
Faith in God, and knowing that it needed to be done.
Yes.
Having the support of the community was huge. And, the community just kept encouraging them. They would send letters. They would buy groceries. They would, they knew that this needed to be done, and it had to be done at that time. Yeah. It was very difficult. It was very scary. They received death threats and all kinds of trash in the mail. But it needed to be done. And if they did not have the support of their church and the community, that helped a lot. A huge amount.
And they stood shoulder to shoulder, the mothers, Eula Mae Etienne, Lucille Bridges, and Louise Tate. They stood shoulder to shoulder as mothers. I found a clip of the mothers being interviewed by the news with their backs to the camera. And so part of this whole thing is uncovering hidden archives and hidden history of women. And for this month, Women's History Month, this is appropriate for, I think, a response of women, our women allies, black women, because back then, women didn't hold positions they hold today. And Dorothy, Eula May, Lucille, and Louise, they were the ones who were the architects, the silent Goliath strength that was steady, that was calm, that was poised, that was full of grace and strength, you know.
What would have happened if she decided not to go forward, step into that school? What could have happened?
Wow.
Well, what I believe is if a lot of the things that women behind the movement, if they didn't do the work, the steady-handed work, I feel that we would have probably had much longer to get to some of the places where we are today. Like I was just saying the other day, going to Louisiana State University in 1984 for me was, it was like 2% of us there, you know, but today, look at it, you know, so it was a necessary thing, and those women knew, even though they were facing what they were going to face, they just knew, but they stood shoulder to shoulder each year.
Wow. And what do you remember most? Is there a memory that stands out most with your family during that time?
Just the love and the strength that they had, and the fact that, as Deidre said, the women stuck together, the families stuck together. I can remember stories about, you know, they were trying to figure out, Gail's dad and my dad worked at the post office, and they were trying to figure out who, they knew that these children's fathers worked there, but they didn't know exactly who it was. And so all the black postal workers stood together, and they wouldn't say who was who. They stuck together. And I think that was it, the support that they had, the strength that they had, and the community that stands out a lot, and it says a lot.
Absolutely. People watching right now, what would you want them to know most wrapping up? You know, like we said, some people, you hear kids, you know, sometimes they don't want to get out of bed or whatever to go to school. And it's important to remember, we can show, you know, the video and the pictures of, you know, what happened back then. And what would you want people to know most and take away from your family's story? I mean, it's powerful.
I think the most important thing right now is that people recognize that what they did made national and international impact. Plessy versus Ferguson was overturned by Brown v. Board. Plessy versus Ferguson started here in New Orleans, so this is a national full circle moment. She's the last living matriarch of the school desegregation era, and what they went through in order for us to have the opportunities we have today, we cannot take them for granted, because if we do take them for granted and they're taken away from us, in which we are in that place because they have undone some of the civil rights. Last year they came here, DOJ ended school desegregation orders. And so we now have to find ourselves again in a place of protecting and making sure that we have civil rights in place, that they did everything for us.
Yes.
So get up, go to school.
Yeah, and
That's what Mama said, right?
that was Tessie's legacy. That was, she said that would make it all worth it. That if kids would take advantage of the advantages they have today because of what she did, that makes it worth it. And that's all she wanted. Just go to school and be all you can be, and, you know, take advantage of the opportunities.
And that's
Yes,
what
ma'am.
you now are continuing to do the work.
That's
So
right.
just
Well, we're going to have
you-
much
yeah.
more on this on the WDSU mobile app. We can't thank you enough for your time. We'll be
Thank
back.
you.
Thank
after
you
the
so
break.
much.
Thank you.